Welcome to Mastering Change, Navigating Transformation for Success. This video is a comprehensive guide to change management, covering the essential theories, frameworks, leadership, and communication strategies that drive lasting results. This program is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team as part of the Project Management Pathways series.
We begin with Chapter 1, The Imperative of Change. In a world that is constantly moving, standing still is no longer an option for any organization. Change management is non-negotiable for three key reasons. Adaptability is survival, as failing to adapt risks decline. It provides a competitive edge, with companies 6 times more likely to succeed. Finally, successful change requires a people-first mindset, focusing on clarity, empathy, and purpose. The case study of Blockbuster versus Netflix illustrates the cost of inaction. Blockbuster had resources but refused to embrace digital streaming, leading to complete collapse. Inaction in the face of disruption is often the most costly choice. Chapter 2 focuses on understanding the theories, which are the foundational models that shape how we think about, plan, and execute organizational change. Kurt Lewin's classic 3-stage model remains one of the most widely applied frameworks. Transformation requires unfreeze to melt old structures, change to reshape them, and refreeze to stabilize them into a new, stable form. Kotter's 8-step model is the most comprehensive blueprint for large-scale change. It organizes the transformation process into 3 phases: urgency-driven, coalition-powered, and culture-embedded. Steps 1 through 3 focus on creating urgency and vision. This involves creating urgency, building a guiding coalition of credible leaders, and forming a strategic vision to close the gap between the current and future state. Steps 4 through 6 focus on mobilizing and enabling action. This is achieved by enlisting a volunteer army, removing structural or cultural barriers, and generating short-term wins to validate effort and sustain momentum. Steps 7 and 8 are about sustaining and instituting change. The most common failure is stopping too soon. We must sustain acceleration and institute change by anchoring new behaviors into the organization's culture, making the change irreversible. Chapter 3 covers the best approaches to change, introducing strategies and frameworks that translate theory into effective, real-world transformation. The See-Feel Change principle emphasizes that logic alone does not move people. Lasting behavior change follows an emotional sequence. People must see the need, feel the motivation, which then leads to change. Kotter's Accelerate dual operating system suggests running the stable, efficient hierarchy simultaneously with a fluid, agile network. This allows organizations to be simultaneously stable and agile, a critical advantage in volatile markets. Agile change management applies principles from software development to manage change in fast-moving environments. Key tenets include iterative delivery, continuous feedback, flexible planning, and team empowerment. Effective change leaders use a toolkit of frameworks. These include the ADKAR model for individual adoption, the McKinsey 7S model for alignment, Lewin's model for foundational planning, and Kotter's 8-step model for comprehensive road mapping. Chapter 4 covers the critical phases of change. Every successful transformation moves through 3 essential phases, each requiring distinct focus, tools, and leadership behaviors. Phase 1 is preparation and planning. This phase is crucial, as skipping it is the most common mistake. It includes assessment, visioning, strategy development, and stakeholder analysis. Phase 2 is implementation and execution. This is where plans turn into reality, focusing on communication, action, training and support, and barrier removal to ensure progress and equip individuals for the new environment. Phase 3 is reinforcement and sustainability. This phase ensures the change sticks through monitoring, gathering feedback, celebration of successes, and integration into the organization's culture and systems. Change is not a destination, but a continuous path forward. Every phase, challenge, and milestone shapes a stronger, more resilient organization. Chapter 5 is about leading the change. Transformation requires deliberate, visible, and courageous leadership at every level, as change doesn't manage itself. Effective change leaders are visionaries who articulate a compelling future. They are communicators, sharing information transparently. They act as supporters, removing barriers, and are resilient, maintaining confidence through setbacks. Building a guiding coalition is the engine of change. It should include individuals with authority, influence, and expertise. This team drives the change agenda, makes decisions, and rallies support. Empowering a volunteer army converts an initiative into an organizational movement. Leaders must motivate by connecting the change to personal meaning, enable with tools and autonomy, and recognize contributions publicly. When leaders build a coalition and empower a volunteer army, change shifts from a top-down directive to a shared organizational mission, driven by collective power. Chapter 6 focuses on stakeholder communication strategies. This is the art and science of reaching the right people with the right message at the right time. Effective communication requires identifying your stakeholders, assessing their influence, impact, current stance, and communication needs. This includes both internal and external stakeholders. Crafting your message requires clarity, consistency across channels, transparency about challenges, and empathy to validate concerns. Your message is your most powerful tool. A multi-pronged approach uses various channels for communication. These include town halls for broad alignment, departmental briefings for tailored information, email and intranet for documentation, one-on-one conversations for personal buy-in, and visual aids for accessibility. Resistance is a natural response to uncertainty. Leaders must acknowledge concerns, correct misinformation, involve stakeholders in solutions, and highlight benefits to turn resistors into advocates. Communication is the critical infrastructure of change. Without it, the best strategies remain disconnected from the people who must bring them to life. Bridging this gap with consistent, thoughtful communication is key to transformation. We now move to Chapter 7, Sustaining Momentum and Measuring Success. Transformation is only complete when the new way of working becomes the standard, not just a temporary initiative. Short-term wins are the oxygen of change. Celebrating wins, big and small, builds momentum and counters skepticism. Recognition programs and public celebration reinforce the right behaviors and motivate broader participation in the journey. Embedding change into the culture is the final measure of success. This requires visible leadership reinforcement, aligning performance management to the new ways, and fostering continuous improvement as a core competency. The future is change. Embrace it, let it, and succeed. Change is the permanent condition for thriving organizations. By mastering these principles, your organization will not just survive disruption, but define it.